Hey, Raiders fans, what a wild time it is to be part of Raider Nation right now. Coming off that much-needed win over the Tennessee Titans, there's finally some new energy in the air. You could feel it in the stadium, you could see it on the sidelines, and honestly, you could sense it across the fan base. But now the real test begins. The Las Vegas Raiders have a massive opportunity in front of them, a chance to turn everything around and completely change the narrative of their season. Sitting at 2 wins and 4 losses might not look great on paper, but one win in Arrowhead Stadium against the Kansas City Chiefs could flip everything. That one victory wouldn't just be another mark in the win column. It would mean the Raiders sit at 3-4, and Kansas City would be 3-4 too. Suddenly, that division doesn't look so unreachable anymore. Suddenly, the hope that seemed to fade away starts burning again. This is a defining week for Geno Smith. I mean it, this is probably the biggest game of his entire career. Not just for him, but for head coach Pete Carroll too. They're stepping into Arrowhead, into one of the loudest, most hostile environments in all of football, to face the reigning AFC West champions. And we all know what that means. It's not just about playing the Chiefs. It's about playing Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and that entire machine of a franchise that seems to always find a way to win. But imagine what a victory would do. A win in Kansas City silences all the noise, shuts down every doubter, and puts Geno Smith right back into the conversation as a quarterback this team can trust. Raider fans have been through so much uncertainty at the quarterback position, but you can feel that hunger, that desire for someone to lead them into these kinds of moments and come out on top. You look back at the last few times the Raiders actually pulled off wins against the Chiefs in Arrowhead. Derek Carr was the one who made it happen. It was October of 2020, and then again on that unforgettable Christmas Day game in 2023. Now, it's Geno's turn. He doesn't have to play like a superstar. He doesn't need to throw for 400 yards. What he does need to do is protect the football, make smart decisions, and manage the game like a veteran who understands what's at stake. Because the truth is, the Raiders have already proven that you don't need to play perfect football to beat Kansas City. You just need to play tough, disciplined, and confident football. And right now, confidence is exactly what this team needs. The Raiders haven't won back-to-back games since December of last year. That's almost a full season without any real momentum. But if Geno Smith and this team can find a way to pull it off in Arrowhead, it could be the spark that reignites everything. Think about it. One great performance against the Chiefs, and people will forget all about those rough games earlier in the year. The bye week is right around the corner, and a win heading into that break would change the entire vibe of the locker room. You can tell Geno's been overthinking things lately, still trying to rebuild that confidence, still trying to block out the noise. But a win in Kansas City? That's the kind of victory that can reset a player's mentality completely. It gives belief not just to him, but to every single player and fan wearing silver and black. And speaking of belief, it's FKC week. You know exactly what that means. It's that time when the whole Raider Nation rallies together, when every fan out there starts chanting the same thing. The Chiefs might get away with no penalties, they might get the calls, and yeah, we all know you have to play the refs and the Chiefs at the same time when you go into Arrowhead. But this week isn't about excuses, it's about energy. It's about standing up, showing up, and letting Kansas City know that the Raiders aren't backing down. Every single person wearing black and silver needs to bring that fire, because this game is more than just another matchup. It's personal. Now, let's talk about the other side of the ball, because if the Raiders are going to win this one, it starts with the defense. They'll be lining up against Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Andy Reid's offensive playbook. And yes, the cameras will probably pan to Taylor Swift a dozen times. But once we look past the distractions, this is where things get serious. The Raiders' defense has quietly been one of the bright spots of the season. Outside of 2 rough outings against the Commanders and the Colts, they've actually been solid. Top 12 in total yards allowed per game, respectable against the run, and improving week by week. This unit has been the backbone of the team when the offense has struggled to find rhythm. And that's exactly how they're going to have to win in Kansas City, with defense. The last time they beat the Chiefs, it wasn't because of an explosive offense. It was because the defense set the tone, forced turnovers, and made life miserable for Mahomes. That's the formula again. The Raiders have to win the turnover battle. Mahomes has been sharp this season with 11 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions, so rattling him won't be easy. But it's possible. Max Crosby has to have one of those games where he completely takes over. Thomas Booker, Lecky Fodu, Tyree Wilson, Malcolm Kuntz. All of them will have to bring pressure, stay disciplined, and make sure they don't give Mahomes those extra chances with roughing the passer calls. When you play Kansas City, everything is magnified. Every hit, every penalty, every mistake, it all matters that much more. And since this is the last game before the bye week, that magnifying glass gets even bigger. What the Raiders can't afford to do is repeat what happened the last time they faced a must-win situation. Remember that game against the Colts? It was supposed to be a turning point, and instead, it was one of the worst performances of the season. They can't let that happen again. This is the chance to prove they can rise to the moment instead of shrinking from it. The team has shown flashes of potential, but now it's about putting it all together for 4 quarters against the toughest opponent in the division. If you're fired up for Chiefs Week, you already know what to do. Bring that energy, bring that passion, and believe that the Raiders can walk into Arrowhead and make a statement. Because this isn't just another game on the schedule. It's a battle for pride, for momentum, and for belief in the direction of this team. Heading into this matchup, there's another storyline that's starting to heat up, and it's centered around the Kansas City receiving core. Rashee Rice is officially back from his suspension, and you better believe he's going to be fired up. After missing 6 games, this will be his first chance to get back on the field, and you can expect the Chiefs to make him a big part of their offensive plan. Rice is dangerous in those short and intermediate routes, the exact area where the Raiders' defense has struggled at times. That's his comfort zone, catching quick passes, turning upfield, and picking up those tough yards after the catch. If the Raiders want to slow him down, they'll need to be physical right off the snap. Eric Stokes is the guy I expect to see lined up on him most of the night, but he's going to need help over the top because Mahomes will test that matchup again and again. The Raiders also need to watch what happens with Juju Smith-Schuster. After that scuffle late in the Sunday night game, there's a chance he could face a suspension. If that happens, it changes things for Kansas City's offense in a big way. Without Juju, Rice becomes the main option behind Kelsey, and while the Chiefs can still move the ball, it limits some of their flexibility. Still, the Raiders can't afford to underestimate Mahomes. He doesn't care who's out there. He'll find ways to make plays with whoever's wearing red. The key for defensive coordinator Patrick Graham will be to take away the middle of the field. That's where the Chiefs love to operate. Crossers, slants, short digs. They'll run those routes all night if you let them. If you're going to beat Kansas City, you have to make Mahomes work for every yard. Force him outside the pocket. Make him uncomfortable and trust your secondary to hold up just long enough for the pass rush to get home. That's where Max Crosby becomes the X factor. He's the heart of this defense, the guy who sets the tone every single snap. You know he's going to bring the intensity, but this can't be a one-man show. Thomas Booker and Lecky Fodu have to clog the lanes. Tyree Wilson and Malcolm Kuntz need to contain the edges. You can't let Mahomes scramble around for 10 seconds and make backyard football plays, because that's when the Chiefs become unstoppable. Every Raider on that defense needs to be on the same page, communicating, disciplined, and ready to hit, cleanly but hard. The officials will be watching closely, as always, so they can't give Kansas City any extra yards with unnecessary flags. Now, shifting to the offensive side, one of the biggest questions of the week revolves around tight end Brock Bowers. It's looking more and more unlikely that he'll be able to play in this game, still dealing with that knee issue. The team's been cautious with him, and honestly, that's probably the right move. The last thing you want is to rush him back too soon and risk a setback. The expectation is that he'll return after the bye week, hopefully fully healthy for that Week 9 clash against Jacksonville. It's frustrating, sure, but there's a silver lining here. Michael Mayer stepped up big time last week, showing that he's ready for more responsibility. 5 catches, 50 yards, and a touchdown. Those are solid numbers, but more importantly, he looked confident. The Raiders trusted him in key moments like that 4th and 1 play, and he delivered. Meyer's not Bowers, and no one's expecting him to be. But what he can do is bring that same physical energy to the offense. Against a team like Kansas City, you need guys who can block, fight for tough catches, and keep the chains moving. That's how you beat the Chiefs, by playing your style of football. You're not going to win a shootout with Mahomes. You're not going to outflash their offense. You beat Kansas City by being tougher, more physical, and more disciplined. Control the clock, pound the ball, and make them uncomfortable. That's how Detroit beat them once before. That's how the Raiders can do it again. And that brings us to the final big question heading into this showdown, the secondary. Will the Raiders finally make a change and bench Kai Blue Kelly for rookie Darian Porter? Because, let's be honest, Kelly has struggled badly. He's given up more yards than almost any other cornerback in the league, and opposing teams have made a habit of targeting him over and over again. It's painful to watch at times. Porter, on the other hand, has quietly shown promise. He hasn't played much, only 99 defensive snaps this season, but when he's been on the field, he's held his own. 4 targets, 2 completions, 19 yards, no touchdowns. Those are encouraging numbers, especially for a rookie. He's got the athleticism, he's got the instincts, and maybe it's time to see what he can do with a real opportunity. The Raiders are 2-4 right now, and no one inside that locker room wants to talk about rebuilding. But there's a difference between rebuilding and making smart decisions for your team's future. Giving a young, talented player a chance to prove himself isn't waving the white flag. It's about development, it's about growth, and it's about accountability. If the team keeps preaching competition, then every position should be open for competition, even cornerback. If a veteran isn't performing, then the next man up deserves a shot. Porter has earned at least that much. What's crazy is that after all the ups and downs of the season, everything is still on the table. The AFC West is far from decided, and a single win against Kansas City could flip the script. That's the beauty of football. One game can change everything. The Raiders know that, and they've got to approach Sunday like their entire season depends on it, because in many ways, it does. Win this game, go into the bye week with momentum, and suddenly the conversations change. Suddenly, people start believing again. This is where you find out what kind of team you really are. Do you fold when the pressure builds, or do you rise and fight back? The Raiders have the talent. They've shown flashes, but now it's about execution. Geno Smith has to be smart and composed. The offensive line has to protect him. The defense has to play with heart and discipline. Every mistake will be magnified. Every play will matter. So as the Raiders prepare to walk into Arrowhead, it's not just another Sunday. It's a chance to make a statement, a chance to silence the critics, to prove the doubters wrong, and to show that this team still has fight left. Raider Nation has waited all season for a game like this. And now, it's time to see whether the silver and black can rise to the challenge and remind everyone that this team, this franchise, still knows how to win big when it matters most. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are swirling around Las Vegas this week as the Raiders officially announced the acquisition of Carlton Davis III, a move that could reshape the team's secondary and send a jolt through the AFC West. Sources close to the organization suggest that Davis's arrival isn't just a roster upgrade, it's a statement. After seasons of inconsistency in the defensive backfield, the Raiders appear ready to make a bold bet on one of the league's more talented corners. Davis, known for his agility, physicality, and ball-hawking instincts, has long been regarded as a player who can change the dynamics of a defense. His reputation for locking down top receivers could be precisely what the Raiders have been missing. While the team's front seven has garnered attention, the secondary has often been a glaring weak spot, leaving the defense vulnerable in critical moments. Now, insiders say, the addition of Davis could turn the tide, offering a leader in the backfield who can mentor younger players while also commanding respect from opponents. Rumors indicate that Raiders coaches have been quietly building this move for months, studying film and schematics that highlight Davis's ability to excel in press coverage as well as in zone schemes. The buzz around the league suggests that his presence alone might force quarterbacks to rethink their approach, potentially reducing the number of big plays that have haunted the Raiders in past seasons. Teammates, sources hint, are already excited, viewing Davis as someone who brings not only skill, but a competitive fire that could elevate the entire defense. Of course, questions remain. Can Davis fully adapt to the Raiders system? Will his impact translate immediately? Or will it take time for chemistry to develop with the secondary? The murmurs, however, lean optimistic. If even a fraction of his potential is realized, the Raiders may have just secured a player capable of changing the trajectory of their season. As the team gears up for training camp, all eyes will be on how quickly Davis can integrate and whether he can live up to the hype that has quietly been building. One thing is certain. The chatter won't die down anytime soon, and every opponent in the division will be paying attention to the new force lurking in Las Vegas secondary. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.